Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Adam Theory, where we talk about investing, startups, and life in general. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a very personal topic and something that I deal with every day as a founder. That topic being anxiety and all the fun that it brings with it. I've been dragging my ass on this video for quite a while now. I want to do the topic justice, and I've got so much to say about it. This has been a video 34 years in the making. Okay, maybe it hasn't been that long. I don't think I've had anxiety my entire life, just most of it. Now, I've never been clinically diagnosed with anxiety, but my Google search skills are pretty good, and I think I've pretty much got it down to a T. And of course, since everything needs to be laid out pretty clearly these days, that's just the joke. I know you can't actually diagnose yourself on Google. Not yet, anyway. Over the years, I've moved past that infatuation of knowing why, and just know that it's one of my design features as an individual. It's the hand I was dealt. Not pocket aces, but we make do with what we have. Sometimes a 2-7 offsuit wins the pot. You'll figure out pretty quickly that I love analogies, so my apologies in advance if you sub to the channel. You've been warned. While we're on the topic of subbing to the channel, if you've enjoyed my content in the past and want to support me, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and follow along. It goes a long way as I try to grow this community. As far back as I can remember, I've always been anxious growing up. Maybe it's because we moved a lot when I was little. Maybe it's because I never quite fit in. Maybe it's the expectations placed on me as a kid in an Asian family. Call it the Asian starter pack. You grow up in an Asian family, you automatically come equipped with +5 to anxiety. That constant fear of disappointing your family fuels your anxiety like none other. Again, that's just a joke, but only kind of. I didn't realize I had anxiety until my mid-20s. I always thought that everyone felt the way I felt. I mean, why would I not think that? No one talks about it out loud, so in my head I just thought everyone feels this way. And so, until I got out of college, I just felt like it was normal, and everyone dealt with it. Luckily for me, most of my anxiety is limited to just my professional career. Sometimes it spills over into my personal life, but it's a rare occurrence, and usually it's only if there's work stuff lingering that I didn't complete before I try to run away from it. I've figured out over the years how to turn it off in social settings, so thank heavens for that. I don't know what I'd do if you followed me in every aspect of my life. When I'm not focusing on my company or my other professional responsibilities, I'm quite content chilling at home with nothing planned. For me, the certainty of a boring night in is sometimes the most therapeutic thing that I seek. When I first joined the real world after graduating, my anxiety leveled up. Up until that point, it had always been just a minor inconvenience. It didn't matter the job, it didn't matter the project. I wanted to do my best, and that stress quickly turned into anxiety. I didn't want to fail, and I didn't want to do subpar work. It also didn't help that my first few professional jobs were very detail-oriented with tight deadlines, and there was never an end in sight. I was just a hamster running on his wheel. But this was the first time in my life that I thought to myself, I wonder if there is something out there that can make this better, that can make this feeling go away. And so after a few hours of chasing Alice down the Google rabbit hole, I quickly realized that what I was most likely dealing with was anxiety. So here I was at the age of 24, realizing for the first time it might be abnormal for me to have those feelings the way I have for as long as I could remember. And there was a moment of clarity where I said, you're telling me there's a way that I could avoid this? The moment I could put a name to it was the moment I could start to address it. Again, I'm about to put on my completely unscientific diagnostic hat for a second. Growing up, I've always had immense pressure to become someone important in society. Now, defining what that is a topic for another day, but the point is, I grew up my entire life with the expectation that I'll grow up to be someone important, and I didn't have much say in that discussion. It was a predetermined outcome, so to speak. I can remember even from the age of 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly, my earliest memories are my grandma telling me, you're going to be a doctor one day. Can you imagine? Being told you're going to be a doctor at the age of 4 or 5 and believing it? What a mind trip. In hindsight, I love the fact that my grandmother saw that type of potential in me. But a byproduct of that external confidence in me was an immense pressure to not disappoint people that believed in me and loved me. I think that pressure over time turned into my anxiety. Actually, I take that back. I know for a fact that it turned into my anxiety. To be honest, I still never want to let anyone down. But I don't mind that. I think it's gotten me to where I am today. I like being held accountable. I like the fact that people trust me. I honestly don't know what I would be without my anxiety. Sounds weird saying it out loud, but I truly believe that. I think the anxiety has made me a better professional. Over the years, that anxiety has manifested primarily in my professional world. I hate failing, I hate letting others down, I hate not getting the best outcomes. Those thoughts are always running through my mind at varying levels of intensity. And as a result, there are some days where it's very overwhelming and leads to internal panic attacks of also varying intensity. My anxiety comes in 3 primary forms. The first is an uneasy feeling in the pit of my stomach. This one comes and goes, and honestly, sometimes I forget that it even happens. The second is an inability to fall asleep as my mind races 24/7. This past week alone, I've fallen asleep at 2 or 3 a.m. the last 3 nights because I couldn't get my mind to stop thinking about, well, thinking. It's pretty messed up. Just start thinking about nothing, and I can't stop it. It's an interesting thing that goes on in your head. The third is the feeling of having a million things to do. But if you ask me what those things were, I'd have a hard time articulating them to you. It's almost as if my mind is paralyzed, and the only thing I can do to break out of that paralysis is to get started, but I have no idea where to start. Have you ever seen that episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns is getting his annual checkup and a doctor says that he has every known disease in existence? And Mr. Burns asks him, how is he still alive? The doctor then takes a door frame and tries to shove all the little tiny virus dolls that he has through the doorway, and they all get stuck at the same time. Well, that's the best way I can describe the feeling that I get when I'm overwhelmed but can't figure out where to start and what to do. All the thoughts get stuck in the doorway, and ultimately, I don't know how to get past it sometimes. Leave me a comment if you experience any of these same feelings or symptoms from your anxiety. I'm always curious to hear from others about what they deal with. Now here's the problem. Being an entrepreneur is extremely stressful. I basically wake up every day and I start with the question of how am I going to make this work, or what the hell am I even doing? It's a very constructive way to start your workday, and I don't recommend it for anyone. Other entrepreneurs out there probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, those constant worries are basically bundles of anxiety tinder ready to go up in flames at any moment. So over the years, I've found some workarounds to my anxiety. Here are some of the handful of things that work for me. I've become very detail-oriented in every aspect of my professional life. I use Google Calendar as much as I can. I like to know what is happening and when. If I know it's coming, it can't surprise me. If there aren't surprises, it's business as usual. I also like to mentally play out scenarios and all the different possible outcomes. If I have a meeting coming up, I like to present myself with 3 potential scenarios that could happen during that meeting and think through how I could handle those situations. I keep a notebook on me to write things down so I don't forget. I also use the notes function on my phone pretty much every day. There's a common theme with all my remedies I discuss above. It's about maintaining control. When I start to feel like I'm losing control, I start to feel my anxiety rise. If I'm being honest, this doesn't always work. There are some days where it all goes to shit and I just need to go to bed and try again the next day. But those days are few and far between, and so for that I'm thankful. But I also think it's important for everyone to know that nobody's perfect, and that's why I wanted to make this video, to talk about my flaws openly. We live in a world where social media promotes such delusional views on life, because people get to pick and choose what they show others. Nobody wants to talk about the reality of life. That reality being, life is hard, life isn't always sunshine and roses, and life isn't perfect. It has been extremely challenging building a company while navigating around my anxiety, whether it's a big pitch, a sales call, or a meeting with a potential investor. The fear of rejection can be debilitating, and it's the fastest way to go from calm to anxious. They all weigh heavily on my mind and leaves openings for anxiety to creep back in. So it's on me to manage it the best that I can. The best way that I've found is by preparing myself to the best of my abilities. I do think that over time it's gotten easier. The conversations don't weigh as heavily, and I think that over time I've just gotten better at it. I also do think that the more emotionally invested I am, the more likely it is to create a reaction. The stress of trying to build a company while having the fear of failing is a pretty toxic thought to always have lingering in the back of your mind. But it's a constant thought that is always there for me. Over the years, it's become less prominent, but nonetheless, it's still there. That stress fuels the anxiety. It's a pretty impressive feedback loop, if you ask me. One vicious cycle. My saving grace was figuring out how to turn that anxiety into positive energy. I use my anxiety to turn into a more organized, dependable, and efficient person. I have no clue who will watch this video or if it'll help anyone else at all. I made it for selfish reasons. It's therapeutic to talk about. I figured that even if one other person could benefit from it, then I might as well make it a public video. If you're a person who deals with anxiety, do your best to ignore social media. Don't focus on what others are doing. It's so destructive to your own mental health. Focus on what you can control. If it's in your control, it's worth the effort. If it isn't in your control, don't waste your energy. I promise you nothing good will come from it. If you're a person who's dealing with anxiety, you're not alone. Stop, take a breath, and remind yourself that this too shall pass. If you like the content, sub to the channel, give the video a like, and hit the notification bell. I plan to do more of these videos on personal topics in the future, so it would be nice to know if others find it entertaining or helpful. The people closest to me know that I'm an open book, and so I figured I'd open that book up for others too. Thanks again for joining me on Adam Theory. Stay curious, ask questions, and build your own theory. Thanks.